Hey guys and occasional girls, my name is GrrrVahrrr and that was Lone Survivor. Well, that was Lone Survivor's story as I see it. May not be accurate, but that is what's good about the game. It is open to interpretation and each player can find something in the game that resonates with his or her life experience, which is great. And there are 3 endings in total, this was only one of them. But story aside, let's talk about gameplay. First of all, the game is in 2D and looks like shit. I personally don't mind the graphic style, and in my opinion the developers did a pretty good job turning a bunch of pixelated crap into a survival horror experience. But there are 2 things I really hated during the game. The first one is text font. I know it's supposed to be in the same style as everything else, but after a while it becomes hard to read, which is annoying. And guess what? When you're annoyed, you're not scared. Second of all, due to 2D perspective, it is impossible to just run around monsters without using other mechanics that specifically allow you to do that. And if in close quarters of an apartment building it made sense, on streets it kinda lost me because, well, it's a big street and I can safely run by the slowest moving monsters, but the game doesn't let you. What separates the game from most survival horrors is not only 2D graphics, but an emphasis on survival aspect. You have to sleep, eat and optionally drink in order to continue your existence. But what is really brilliant about this mechanic is that your routine has effect on the outcome of the game. Eating junk food, drinking a lot of coffee, constant exhaustion, drug abuse, all of that lead you to your demise, and every little decision you take will not go unpunished. Even sleeping for no reason has bad consequences. Well, just like in real life. And you do all that in the comfort of your own home, which also serves as a fast travel hub since all the mirrors in the game are connected to the one in your apartment. But there is a major drawback in the game's survival mechanic. It makes the game much less scary. The reason is, you are totally safe in your home. That's it. If there is a place in the game where you feel safe and can release tension, the game is not scary anymore. Tension is the thing that builds up and reaches its peak at some point. This should be the point a player panics, hides under a table and starts hysterically crying, slowly cutting himself in the process. But in Lone Survivor, every time you go back to your apartment, your tension level goes to 0.0. Yes, there is a story reason for this mechanic and it really adds to the gameplay, but at the same time it undoubtedly sucks away horror and tension from the game. Puzzles in the game are pretty much what you would expect of any other survival horror. Collect items around the level to use them on a thing that will allow you to access the next area. What is good about them though is that they are 100% logical. Need to cut skin? Use scissors. Start a generator? Find some fuel first. A bus doesn't start? Go find parts for it. There is no attaching toys to wooden tablets under a tree at midnight to open a door on the other side of town. And thanks for that. The next thing to talk about is combat. The only weapon you have is a pistol, which is fairly effective, but ammo for it is pretty rare. There are ways to get it out of the thin air by using drugs, however if you do so, be prepared to be punished in the end. There are also ways to avoid monsters, and it's pretty much your best solution. You can hide in the terrain, attract enemies with rotten meat, or use flares to blind them. Overall, what can I say about combat in Lone Survivor? It sucks! Yeah, it sucks and it is a very good thing. What's important to understand, the survival horror is not an action game with monsters in it. And there is a very thin line between the two. In a real survival horror, you should not be able to effectively fight anything. Because if you can, a sense of power behind your weapons destroys the fear of what seems to be inevitable death. If in a survival horror, a player looks at a monster and the first thing he does is charges at it with all the arsenal he has, a game has failed at what it represents. Survival? Because no one who's surviving approaches any danger if it's not completely necessary. And horror. Because if monsters don't possess real threat, they're not scary. Good combat is one of the reasons Silent Hill Homecoming sucks. And comparison to Silent Hill series is not random, since Lone Survivor feels pretty much inspired by Silent Hill games. By the good ones, that is. There are also a lot of things you can do that are not necessary, but have certain effects on the ending. Like feeding the plant in the hallway, reading funny comics, playing a... well, it's a Game Boy, and adopting a cat. There is a lot of stuff to explore, and doing so not only makes a character happier, but a player as well. It is actually so easy to forget about the main storyline and dive into this little safe routine you can create for your virtual self. This is where the survival mechanic really shines. Overall, the game is a pretty good survival horror. Is it really scary though? No, I wouldn't say so. The basement was terrifying, everything else, not really. Is it disturbing? Oh yes it is. Is it atmospheric? You bet. The game's pixelated graphic style can scare off a bunch of people, but if you can stomach it, playing Lone Survivor will definitely be worth your time. The name's GrrrVahrrr, and I shall see you from within my next video.
Goodbye, goodbye, see you again.